What's happening, peeps? It's your boy, J-Train83, the Rail Enthusi-Artist. Back at it again with another one of my personal rail fanning stories. This is one of my past art pieces. This is a piece I did sometimes back in 2019. I had called this piece That One Cloudy Night on the J Train. So this is based on the 1990 scenery. In the art piece, you do see a 8-car consist of R40M subway cars on the J train heading into the Williamsburg Bridge. So to get on with the story, this is at a time where my cousin, he was visiting for the day. He was living in Staten Island at the time, so he came out to Brooklyn to spend the day with the fam, which is always a great thing. When the evening drew near, as it was almost time for my cousin to get himself ready to head back home in Staten Island, my fam and I was, of course, helping him with directions on how to travel back, because I don't think he was really good with traveling like that anyways. And of course, my family and we all went with him, to take that subway ride back to Manhattan so he could find his way back to Staten Island Ferry, being that, even when weekend service with the subways was still a little screwy even back then, but we still went along with him. And of course, 7-year-old J-Train83 was very excited about getting on the subway. So getting to the Staten Island Ferry was a bit tricky, because back then, this is when the J used to terminate at Canal Street in Manhattan. And this was during the weekends. This went on from like 1990 to 1995. At that time, you really couldn't get a transfer connection to the 4 and 5. So the only way you had to get there was to get off at Canal Street and transfer for the NR or the number 6. So I think that was the only way how we had to get there anyways. Well, to help my cousin anyway to get back home. So we took the 6 train after. We only took it one stop down and transferred at Brooklyn Bridge, only to get the 4 and the 5, take him back to Bowling Green so he could be well on his way to the Staten Island Ferry. Come to think of it, I think we walked with him to the ferry terminal so that we waited for him to get his boat to go right back home. And I think it was afterwards we then jumped on the N&R train. At the time when the Broadway line was just the N&R, not the NQR and W like it is today. So we ended up catching the Uptown N&R at Whitehall Street because it was closer to the terminal. So we took that on back to Canal Street so that we can get the J train going back to my hood in Brooklyn. So as my cousin, he was well on his way home, and he caught the ferry boat going back to Staten Island. Then it was my other relatives, they parted ways to get home as well. It was just me and my great aunt. So once we had reached the Canal Street to get the J train, we lucked out and caught one at Canal Street, and we got on at the last car. And of course, me being a typical kid rail fan, I wanted to go to the Railfan window, on the train. So I did that, stood by the window, looked out the window, saw all the tracks and tunnels and tunnel lights and passing trains and all that other interesting stuff. So as the train finally leaves out of Essex Street, and now the train now goes outside. So this is where we are now on the approach of the Williamsburg Bridge, heading back to Brooklyn. And I remember as the train was crossing over the Williamsburg Bridge, it looked like it was going to rain. So the sky started to get like really cloudy, and it started to look this orange, brownish. It was like a brown orange like color. It was really like scary looking, but at the same time it looked really cool. So as the train that I was on had crossed over the East River, and we made it right back to Brooklyn because our next stop was Marcy Avenue. And so the sky had this brownish orange color, and then what made the scenery even cooler was there was a Manhattan bound J train that was passing on the other track, and there was that solid consist of R40Ms on the J with the accidents grotesque font, as you can see like on the drawing. So just like in the scenery that you see in my art piece, it captured exactly just that. That I remember when that J train had passed me right on the Manhattan bound track, and I saw how it went further like into the bridge, and like as it was going across it and all that wonderful stuff, like the J sign just got brighter and brighter as the train withered off into like the distance, with the bridge, you know, being seen in plain sight, lit up too with the sky in that brownish orange color. It was just awesome. But I will say that we definitely lucked out because it was going to rain later on that night, so we pretty much was making it right back home before the storm even reached. So that is, of course, one of my past great memories of course, riding the subways back in the days. So if you guys like hearing my Railfanning stories, be sure to like, comment, also subscribe, share with other Railfanners out there. You can also share with other artists as well. I'm doing something that's pretty unique for the channel. So with that being said, thanks for watching and also listening. Be kind, be cool to one another and to yourself. And see you guys on the next one with a newly created piece.